What was that?
Well, the Top Hand project, which is what I still tentatively call it, it was kind of almost a natural extension from the 100 Years, 100 Ranchers, and that came about just whereas I was traveling and photographing on the Rancher project, I started to meet and work with different cowboys, and so for me it was kind of a natural extension. And I was sometimes after you finish a large project, you're kind of looking for what are you going to do next, or and so this was a much smaller one, but I wanted to make it different. So then that's kind of how that's where it came out of, was jumping from a larger project and then took it on as a smaller project that I could work at and kind of stretch myself a little differently, photographically speaking.
Mm-hmm.
What I did was I said, well, let me find a process that's different or that I thought would kind of be appealing with the subject matter. And so I wanted to do them as palladium prints. And I thought about platinum prints, palladium prints, tin types, different things, wet plates. And so I decided to go with palladium prints. And so they're essentially just contact prints. I mean, it's photographically about as basic as you can get. So they're really simple. And it also restricted me to what I was doing. I basically used one camera, one lens, and really didn't shoot a lot of film, shot maybe 4 sheets of film on each subject. Generally, really great people to work with, and really helpful and understanding. And I think a lot of them with these cowboys, whether they were young or older, they really appreciated the fact as far as trying to do this in a more traditional sense. I mean, I could have whipped this out digitally a lot easier with a lot less cost and a lot less trouble. But they can be somewhat reticent, but they're not any different than you and I. I mean, uh, they're just out there doing their job. And really part of your deal is part of when I go in to photograph them is they know I'm coming. But even like the two guys I photographed at the Babbitt Ranch, Duke Vance and Justin Morgan Rogers, um, both of them were busy. And so my job was kind of to figure out what I wanted to do, go in, get it done, and let them get back to work. So, and to get the best photograph that I could. The other thing that's kind of missing in this digital age is that, those are the tools that we have. And so you work with them. I try to keep my digital work as straightforward. Now, obviously, I take digital images and I convert them to black and white, but I kind of treat it very much like I would when I print, and I treat my raw file as a piece of film. Um, so I don't like to overdo the Photoshop aspect of it. I try to do a lot of my work on the front end because trained as an analog photographer, as a film photographer, we had to get all that stuff right because we didn't have Photoshop, or because we were using a piece of film. It was kind of what you shot is what you got. So I try to do a lot of that work. I try to just do things with my images that I could conceivably do in the darkroom, or that I could have had done um, in a lab. But the digital tools are what you have. But it's still not. It's still how you see. We're really in danger of just pushing buttons here, and we're not really thinking about what we're doing. So sometimes it's slow down and think about how you see a photograph or what moves you. For me, there's a really innate moment within me that tells me to push the shutter at that point, and it's very private, especially when I'm shooting large format. You got a dark cloth over your head and it's dark, and it's your eye, because you're now seeing, not like in an SLR where you have a pentaprism that corrects. You're seeing backwards and upside down, which is what your eye does. Your mind is what flips it around and corrects it. So in that moment, it's very quiet. And I get that a lot. Your photographs are peaceful, they're quiet. It's just I get in this very private space, and particularly when I'm photographing someone, even though it's not you can do that in a landscape where things are changing, the light's changing, the clouds are moving, shadows are moving. With me, when I'm looking at a person, there's a really special moment when I know that it's right to push the shutter. And it's really crazy. I don't know why, but there's just a spot, there's a moment in time when you say yes. And it's kind of connecting with your subject. I know that some of my photographs are pretty good, but I just like photographing. And so for me, it's a much more of a personal thing than it is trying to figure out. But it's an honor, especially since, not only the people who work here, but also all the photographers that are represented in the magazine every month. Many of them I know, many of them are my peers who I have great respect for, and ones who are past and stuff. I mean, when you can say you're in the same magazine as, Ansel Adams or Jay Dussard, or, I mean, that's kind of it's really humbling, for me. So, but it's a good deal. It's a good deal for me to be part of it, and I like it, and it's a great relationship for me.